This is going to sound like the opposite of everything you've been told about hydration your entire life, but if you're over 60, the way you've been drinking water may no longer be doing what you think it's doing for your body. In fact, it might be falling short in a way that quietly affects your energy, your circulation, and even how your body ages day by day. What I'm about to share isn't a rejection of water itself, but a deeper look at what your body actually needs alongside it, especially as the vascular system becomes more fragile with age. Most doctors will tell you to drink more water as you get older, and that advice is not wrong. But what has been largely overlooked for decades is that plain water alone doesn't always provide the biological support your blood vessels require after 60. As we age, the inner lining of our arteries, what scientists call the endothelium, becomes less responsive. Blood flow slows slightly, nutrient delivery becomes less efficient, and the system that once ran smoothly starts to lose flexibility. So even if you're drinking enough water, your circulation may still feel sluggish, your energy lower than expected, and your recovery slower than it used to be. From my experience as a physician and researcher studying vascular health, I've noticed a clear pattern. The individuals who maintain strong energy and independence well into their 70s and 80s rarely rely on hydration alone. They naturally incorporate specific compounds into their daily fluids that actively support blood vessel function. These aren't complicated treatments or extreme interventions. They are simple additions that work with the body's biology instead of just filling it with water. One major study from the University of Colorado highlighted something that changed how researchers look at aging and hydration. Adults over 60 who supplemented their hydration with certain bioactive compounds experienced up to a 43% improvement in endothelial function compared to those who only drank plain water. That means that their blood vessels responded more efficiently, their circulation improved, and their cardiovascular system functioned closer to that of someone decades younger. To put that in perspective, this isn't a small adjustment. It's a shift in how the body performs at a foundational level, and that brings us to what we're going to explore today. I'm going to walk you through 5 specific drinks that can be added to your water routine, ranked from powerful to truly transformative. Each one has been studied in relation to blood flow, inflammation, or vascular flexibility, and each one plays a different role in supporting your body after 60. But before we go into the full list, I want to be clear about something important. This isn't about replacing water. It's about upgrading how your body uses it. At number 5, we start with something familiar, something many people underestimate completely: coconut water. It's often dismissed as just another trendy beverage, but the science tells a very different story when it comes to aging physiology. And what it does for blood pressure and electrolyte balance in older adults is far more significant than most people realize. But before we get into that, I want you to think about something. Have you noticed changes in your energy, your circulation, or even how quickly you recover from fatigue in recent years? Because how your body responds to hydration after 60 is often one of the earliest indicators that your vascular system needs more than just plain water. Now let's break down exactly why coconut water comes in at number 5 and why researchers have been paying much closer attention to it in aging populations than ever before. Continuing from where we left off, coconut water becomes especially interesting when you look at how aging changes the body's internal balance systems. After 60, the kidneys don't regulate sodium and potassium with the same precision they once did. This balance is essential for maintaining stable blood pressure and smooth muscle function, including the muscles that control your heart and blood vessels. When that balance begins to shift even slightly, you can feel it as fatigue, lightheadedness, or that general sense that your energy just doesn't stay steady throughout the day. This is where coconut water stands out in a way that plain water simply cannot. It naturally contains a high concentration of potassium, one of the key minerals involved in regulating blood pressure. In fact, a single cup can provide more potassium than a banana, and more importantly, it delivers it in a form that the aging digestive system can absorb efficiently. That matters because absorption changes with age just as much as metabolism does. What used to be processed easily at 30 doesn't always behave the same way at 70. A study conducted at the University of the West Indies followed adults in their 60s and early 70s who replaced just one daily glass of water with natural coconut water. Over the course of 8 weeks, researchers observed an average reduction of 11 points in systolic blood pressure. That number is significant because systolic pressure is one of the strongest predictors of cardiovascular strain in older adults. Even a small improvement can reduce the workload on the heart and improve long-term vascular stability. But potassium is only part of the story. Coconut water also contains plant-based compounds known as cytokinins, which have been studied for their antioxidant effects. These compounds help reduce oxidative stress inside blood vessels, a process often described as internal aging of the arteries. As oxidative stress builds up over time, the walls of blood vessels become less flexible, almost like a hose that gradually stiffens with use. That stiffness is one of the hidden contributors to rising blood pressure with age. What makes this even more relevant is that after 70, the body's natural antioxidant defenses decline significantly. Some estimates suggest a reduction of around 30% compared to younger adults. This means the body becomes more reliant on external sources of antioxidant support through diet and hydration. Coconut water, while simple, fits into this gap in a practical and accessible way. However, how you consume it matters just as much as the fact that you consume it. The most effective approach is to drink about 8 ounces of natural, unsweetened coconut water in the morning before breakfast. This timing allows your body to absorb electrolytes without interference from a heavy meal. It also helps stabilize hydration early in the day, which can improve energy consistency throughout the morning. There's also a subtle but important synergy that researchers and clinicians have noticed. When coconut water is paired with magnesium-rich foods like pumpkin seeds, the combined effect supports both vascular relaxation and heart muscle function. Magnesium helps the heart muscle contract and relax efficiently, while potassium helps regulate the electrical signals that control those contractions. Together, they create a more stable internal environment for cardiovascular activity. At this stage, it becomes clear that hydration after 60 is not just about water intake, but about what that water carries into the body. Coconut water introduces the idea that hydration can be functional, not just passive. It doesn't just quench thirst, it actively participates in restoring balance that naturally declines with age. And as useful as coconut water is, it's still only the beginning of this conversation. Because the next drink we move into addresses something even more complex than electrolyte balance. It targets inflammation, sleep quality, and the internal systems that quietly control how your body repairs itself every night. Moving into number 4, we shift from hydration and electrolyte balance into something even more deeply connected to how your body heals itself every single day: inflammation control and nighttime recovery. This is where tart cherry water becomes surprisingly important, especially for adults over 60 who are dealing with joint stiffness, disrupted sleep, or that persistent low-level fatigue that doesn't seem to go away no matter how much rest they get. As we age, inflammation becomes more than just a response to injury. It becomes a background process that quietly influences nearly every system in the body. Researchers often refer to this as inflammaging, a slow, chronic form of inflammation that builds over time and contributes to stiffness in blood, vessels, discomfort in joints, and even changes in sleep quality. It doesn't usually appear as a dramatic condition, but rather as a constant underlying strain on the body's repair systems. Tart cherry concentrate is one of the most studied natural sources for addressing this issue. It contains a powerful combination of anthocyanins, which give the fruit its deep red color, and natural compounds that support melatonin production. Melatonin is not only involved in sleep regulation, but also plays a role in the body's nightly recovery processes, including cellular repair and inflammation control. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition followed older adults with chronic inflammation-related joint discomfort. After just 2 weeks of daily tart cherry intake, researchers observed a 25% reduction in C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation in the body. That kind of change in such a short time suggests that the compounds in tart cherries are actively influencing how the immune system responds at a systemic level. What makes this particularly relevant for circulation is the direct connection between inflammation and blood vessel function. When blood vessel walls become inflamed, they lose flexibility. This stiffness forces the heart to work harder to push blood through the system, which can contribute to higher blood pressure and reduced oxygen delivery to tissues. By reducing inflammation, you are indirectly improving circulation and reducing strain on the cardiovascular system. There's also a practical, real-world dimension to this that goes beyond laboratory findings. Many older adults report improvements in sleep quality when tart cherry extract is taken regularly in the evening. Better sleep, in turn, supports hormonal balance, immune function, and even blood pressure regulation. These systems are deeply interconnected, and improving one often has a cascading effect on the others. A typical approach is to mix about 2 tablespoons of tart cherry concentrate into a glass of water and consume it in the early evening, usually a few hours before bed. This allows the body to begin absorbing its compounds as natural melatonin levels start to rise. Over time, this routine can help reinforce a healthier sleep cycle, especially for those who struggle with fragmented or shallow sleep. There is also an interesting enhancement effect when tart cherry water is paired with a small amount of black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, which can improve the absorption of certain plant-based nutrients, including anthocyanins. While the effect may seem small in nutritional science, even modest increases in absorption can lead to noticeable differences over time when the routine is consistent. At this point, tart cherry water introduces a new idea, that hydration can also be therapeutic, not just supportive. It begins to show how specific compounds in water-based drinks can influence inflammation, recovery, and even sleep architecture in aging bodies. But as powerful as tart cherry water is for recovery and inflammation, the next drink takes things in a completely different direction. It doesn't just help your body rest and repair. It actively supports the flexibility of your blood vessels and the efficiency of oxygen delivery throughout your entire system, which becomes especially critical as we move deeper into the list. Continuing from where we left off, the next step in this progression takes us from recovery and inflammation control into something even more directly tied to circulation itself, the actual flexibility of your blood vessels and how efficiently oxygen moves through your body. This is where green tea water becomes especially important, not as a casual drink, but as a functional support for vascular health in aging adults. What makes green tea so unique is a compound called EGCG, short for epigallocatechin gallate. While the name sounds complex, The function is surprisingly straightforward. It helps blood vessels relax and widen, a process known as vasodilation. When blood vessels are more relaxed, blood flows with less resistance. That means the heart doesn't have to work as hard, and oxygen can reach the brain, muscles, and organs more efficiently. For older adults, this difference is not subtle. It can influence everything from physical stamina to mental clarity. As the body ages, blood vessels naturally lose elasticity. They become stiffer and less responsive, almost like a hose that has been exposed to heat and sun over many years. This stiffness is one of the key contributors to rising blood pressure and reduced circulation's efficiency after 60. What researchers have found is that EGCG appears to interact with the lining of blood vessels in a way that helps restore some of that lost flexibility, not by forcing change, but by supporting the natural signaling systems that control relaxation and contraction. A study from Vanderbilt University observed that regular green tea consumption in adults over 65 was associated with a 32% lower risk of cognitive decline. While that might sound like a brain-focused outcome, the connection actually begins in the blood vessels. Better circulation means better oxygen delivery to the brain, and that directly supports memory, focus, and processing speed. Another important aspect of green tea is its impact on something called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These are harmful compounds that form when sugar molecules bind to proteins in the body over time. You can think of it as a slow internal caramelization process that contributes to tissue stiffness, including in blood vessels. Research suggests that EGCG helps reduce the accumulation of these compounds, which may slow down the stiffening process that naturally occurs with age. Preparation plays a critical role in preserving these benefits. Green tea should not be brewed with boiling water because excessive heat can damage a significant portion of its active compounds. The optimal temperature is around 175 degrees Fahrenheit, followed by a steeping time of about 3 minutes. This preserves the balance of bioactive components while avoiding bitterness that often comes from over-extraction. Timing also matters more than most people realize. Consuming green tea in the late morning, typically between 10 and 11 a.m., aligns with the body's natural cortisol rhythm, which may support better absorption and utilization of its compounds. This is not just a matter of habit, but of working with the body's internal biological cycles. There is also a simple but powerful synergy effect when green tea is combined with vitamin C, often from lemon juice. Vitamin C helps stabilize EGCG in the digestive system, allowing more of it to remain active as it is absorbed. Some research suggests this combination can significantly enhance the bioavailability of green tea's beneficial compounds, meaning your body can use more of what you consume. At this stage in the sequence, green tea represents a shift from passive hydration support to active vascular enhancement. It is not just about maintaining balance anymore, but about improving the actual performance of the circulatory system itself. And as effective as green tea is for blood vessel flexibility and oxygen delivery, the next drink moves even further into the realm of clinical level cardiovascular support. It is something that has been compared in research to prescription grade effects on blood pressure regulation, and yet it comes from a simple natural source that many people overlook entirely. Now we reach number 2, and this is where the conversation shifts from general vascular support into something much closer to clinical level impact on blood pressure and arterial function. This is hibiscus water, a deep red infusion made from dried hibiscus flowers that, despite its simplicity, has been studied extensively for its effects on cardiovascular health in older adults. What makes hibiscus so remarkable is its multi-layered action on the body. It contains natural compounds such as anthocyanins and organic acids, including hibiscus acid, which influence blood vessel behavior in a way that closely resembles how certain prescription medications work. Specifically, they act in a similar direction to ACE inhibitors, which are commonly prescribed to help relax blood vessels and reduce blood pressure. The difference is that hibiscus achieves this through natural biochemical pathways found in the plant itself. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Hypertension observed adults with mildly elevated blood pressure who consumed hibiscus tea daily. Over a 6-week period, participants experienced an average reduction of about 13 points in systolic blood pressure. That level of change is not minor. In cardiovascular medicine, even a few points can significantly reduce strain on the heart and lower long-term risk of complications. Beyond blood pressure, hibiscus has also been studied for its effects on cholesterol levels. Research from Texas A&M University found that regular consumption was associated with a meaningful reduction in LDL cholesterol, often referred to as bad cholesterol, in adults over 60. This matters because LDL buildup contributes directly to arterial stiffness and reduced circulation efficiency over time. What makes hibiscus especially important in the context of aging is how it interacts with the structure of blood vessels. As we get older, the inner lining of arteries becomes less responsive and more prone to constriction. This increases resistance to blood flow and forces the heart to work harder. Hibiscus compounds help counteract this by promoting relaxation of the vascular walls, allowing blood to move more freely through the system. There is also a practical side to how this drink is used. A common preparation involves steeping about 2 to 3 tablespoons of dried hibiscus flowers in hot water for 5 to 7 minutes, then allowing it to cool before drinking. It is typically consumed once or twice a day, often in the morning and early afternoon when the body is most responsive to its effects. Some people also combine hibiscus water with a small amount of raw honey if they prefer a milder taste, although avoiding added sugars is generally recommended for cardiovascular health. Another interesting nutritional synergy occurs when hibiscus is paired with dark chocolate that is at least 85% cacao. Both contain compounds that support nitric oxide production, which plays a key role in widening blood vessels and improving circulation. It is important to note, however, that hibiscus is not a mild herbal drink in its physiological effect. Because of its influence on blood pressure, individuals who are already taking medication for hypertension should approach it carefully and consult a healthcare professional before making it a regular part of their routine. In some cases, it may enhance the effects of medication, which can require dosage adjustments. At this stage, hibiscus represents a turning point in the list. We are no longer talking about subtle support for hydration or inflammation. We are now looking at direct measurable effects on blood pressure and arterial function that have been documented in controlled clinical settings. And now, with that foundation in place, we move to the final and most powerful entry in this entire sequence. It is a drink that works not just on blood pressure or inflammation, but on the very molecule responsible for keeping your blood vessels flexible, responsive, and capable of delivering oxygen efficiently throughout your entire body.